What is up, jabronis? JJ back here with Holden talking week 11 in the NFL, November the 22nd. It's November the 22nd, right, Holden?
I have no idea.
I feel like sometimes we're in like this vortex where I don't
Yeah,
even know
22nd.
what date it is. Like, we know what week in the NFL it is, but we have no idea what the date is.
Seriously, I woke up yesterday morning. Or actually, I took a nap yesterday. I was just exhausted, and I woke up. It was like 6:30 at night. And I'm like, oh, shit, I got the show with JJ coming up in 2 hours. I got the show with JSU coming up in 3 hours. And I looked outside. I'm like, hold on a second. And then I figured out it was Saturday. But I'm happy about today. This is awesome.
That's like a dream come true. Like, how do I make sure that happens to me? Because that sounds awesome.
No, I would much rather it have been Sunday. I didn't get anything done last night. I just built my lineups. I would have totally been screwed for DFS. How's your morning going? What are you doing?
I woke up about an hour and a half ago. My father called me about a half hour ago. That's why I was a little late into the StreamYard, busting my balls. But you know what else? What else is new? He was ramming it in me about Virginia Tech yesterday. And I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, I felt like I had some decent insight there, and we get the favorable news that comes out, and Virginia Tech gets rolled by 40 by Pittsburgh fourth stringers. So I mean, for me it was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, Dad, I watched the game. I mean, what do you want from me? Okay, what do you want from
me? When did you turn it off?
Oh, please. I probably turned it off. I probably turned it off after the third straight possession where Pittsburgh went down the field against with two fourth-string offensive linemen. Virginia Tech getting no pressure. Pitt's top two receivers out. Yeah, I mean, please.
Let me ask you real quick. Does your dad tell you?
Oh yeah, he was definitely on Texas.
Oh, he was so pissed off.
He was. That's why I got the call this morning. I'm like, yeah, but Dad, what about USC and the Arkansas State over? He's like, fuck those two teams. Virginia Tech was the worst call I've seen on a Saturday in the last few weeks for me. I'm like, I'm not having this conversation with you. Like, it's just, I have shit I got to do this morning.
All right, you're killing me. All right, let's do this. Philadelphia, Cleveland. We'll get right into it. You can get, let's see here. It's Cleveland minus 2.5 in most places, but I see it at 3 at DraftKings. 3 minus 07 too. What's going on there? Why did they do that? And they dropped the vig. And the total here is 45.5, 46, and it's raining. I'm not worried about that. JJ, your thoughts on Philly at Cleveland?
Yeah, I guess we start the show off with, a mini bang. My best bets in this game, it's Philly plus the 3. Now, I know last night it was basically 3 consensus at most spots. You are still seeing some 2.5, and obviously DraftKings you're seeing a little lighter vig. I do think you might get some late buyback on Cleveland here at whatever book you're using, or you even could, because if 2.5 is minus 120, you could. I mean, I hate doing this, but you could buy that half point, which will put you at about 3 plus 3, about minus 125, minus 120, depending how heavy your book moves lines for key numbers. But either way, 3 minus 110 was available on DraftKings yesterday. It was also available at a few other books around here in Jersey. But yeah, so 3's the play. And here's why I like Philly. So last week, if you remember, Philly was I'd say a fairly trendy play. I know some people like the Giants as a dog, right? But Philly was still a fairly trendy play, getting all their healthy weapons back, right? Everybody, all that continuity again. You get Jeffrey back, the offensive line's healthy, Sanders back. So now, but I've said this about this team, Philly typically lays eggs when they're supposed to win games. It's just how they've been. I don't know if it's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's a Wentz thing, but they just typically lay eggs when they're supposed to lose games. Now, this game in particular, certainly not a game they want to lose, and they are expected to lose, at least based on the spread. But for me, you had all your weapons back last week, and we kind of saw this with Tampa, right? Tampa gets Antonio Brown. They look like a mess on offense, okay? The first week. The second week, they get a little more practice under their belt, a little more continuity. Their offense just overall looks better. And by the way, Antonio Brown almost caught like a 70-yard touchdown. Brady just missed him. And Brown still had a good game. I think he had 7 catches last week. And I know it's not apples to apples, but Philly had a lot of new pieces back last week, a lot of new wrinkles. This week, they get a little more practice on their belt with all that continuity. And look, obviously Myles Garrett's big news, him being out. Okay, a little less pressure on Wentz. And look, I always say this, Baker Mayfield, I want to fade him when teams are going to get pressure. I mean, Philly, for the most part, with their front four, can get pressure, and they also are so good against the run. So that means Baker's going to probably have to beat this team with his arm, which is not something, I don't think anybody wants to see or wants to have money on or money invested in. So I like the Eagles plus the 3 here. Got this closer to a pick 'em just because I think Philly's better than Cleveland. So ultimately, that's going to be my best bet. What do you think about it, Holden?
I actually really like it the more I think of it. I think that the running game for Cleveland's going to be able to get going, though. That's my only thing. Like, they're unstoppable to me.
Yeah,
I agree. I think Hunt's going to have and Chubb, but Baker Mayfield's just garbage. Most of the time he didn't hit 200 yards. He's not a good quarterback. Their weapons are not great. I'm not a fan of
this line just assumes, especially since we're degrading home field advantage, this line just assumes that Cleveland's about 1.5 points better than Philly on a neutral field. And that's just wild to me because I get the market love to a certain extent for Cleveland with how good they've been and they've been winning games, but a little too much market love for them. Happy to grab Philly in this spot.
Yeah, and then the other thing about Philly, though, is, they're not a good football team. But I think that Cleveland's been kind of smoke and mirrors, too, offensively at least.
Yeah.
But they got Chubb back. I really like this pick now that I think about it. Benjamin, hello. DB Gnarly, what up? Gerardo, Rico Suave, and then Joe Lamb. He wants to know if I like Wentz on FanDuel. I don't, but you can ask us when I do the show with JSU in about 50 minutes on the DFS side. So I don't love Wentz. I like Sanders a lot today, though. I like Sanders. All your books are 2.5? Really? My $50 bet must have just completely moved the line, JJ.
Oh, you hate to see it.
Let's go. Let's get this next game in. Atlanta at Nolans. I love this game. I jumped on Atlanta at +5. This line has dropped to 3.5. Who the hell knows what's going on today with New Orleans? Taysom Hill starting. Does that mean that Taysom Hill is going to go the whole way? Is there going to be some Jameis Winston? If Hill sucks, do they make a move later on? I don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty there. The total's 49.5 at just about every single book, and that dropped about 3 points too. And probably, you got to think Breeze has something to do with that. But JJ, I actually think Atlanta's got a nice shot here. They're 3-1 in their last 4. Their defense is playing better. Maybe they blow this game at the end, but that's fine. Lose by a field goal, we all win.
Yeah, so here's some interesting pieces here. So when Winston was going to be the assumed starter, this line barely moved, which makes you think that the market overall, and look, to each his own, but the market overall seems to agree that the drop-off isn't all that much from Winston to Breeze, which might sound crazy, but when you think about it, Winston can at least open up this offense. He can really start moving the ball a lot downfield, which Breeze really doesn't. Breeze really relies on good decision-making and guys to make plays after the catch. But with that said, this is a game for me. You just have to avoid. I get it. Everybody's going to want to watch Hill play, but you're literally, if you're betting this game, you're more or less putting that coach's hat on, right? Because you're assuming Taysom Hill plays all the snaps, right? So ultimately, a lot of people are going to want to bet Atlanta, right? Because I get Taysom Hill, who's not even a real quarterback, he's like a gadget type player, and now, I can get Atlanta plus the hook with a guy who's never run this offense for an entire game. But how do you know that's going to be the case? How do you know Taysom Hill is going to start, run a few snaps, and then they bring Winston in, for a lot of the passing situations? I don't know, but does anybody really know? So I think that ultimately, and do realize this total's dropped because they assume Hill's going to be the starter. It's total dropped from 51 to 49.5 now. And look, overall, there's so many games today. Why would you pick this spot? Again, it's going to be a fun game to watch. Don't get me wrong, DFS purposes, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people on Hill at quarterback because of the cheap price. But at the end of the day, again, why would you wear your coach's hat from a betting perspective? You'll end up just tilting yourself. Don't get me wrong, you could be right, but there's a lot of different games to choose from here. This will be a game I stay away from.
You're fading at this point. So the article I was reading right before I came on was there was actually a lot of internal debate with the Saints, whether or not it should be Hill or Winston. So, they're even looking at it back and forth. I don't think Sean Payton is, though. I think Sean Payton's just going out. But my best bet again with this is what I got today. I got ice.
I think we keep hitting the best bet with the boyfriend mug, so we keep bringing it back.
All right, let's do it. I hit my best bet last week, but my bet on the sheet sucked. Can I take some weeks off the sheet, or am I supposed to keep going on the sheet?
You can take off as many weeks as you need.
All right. because what's his name? Keg just keeps shaming me. He's like, "Wait till your pick on the sheet." I'm like, "Well, settle down."
Mean, if you think he shames you, you want to know what we talk about?
What do you talk about?
I mean, he shames me a lot.
Yeah, that guy needs to settle down. Keg, you settle down, big man. Brian Hill over 8.5 receiving yards is my play today. That is my official play. I told JJ before the show, I'm like, dude, why don't you just tell me the truth? He always says, "Oh, I like your pick. I like your pick." Well, some of my picks suck, I'm sure. So here we go. Here's a guy that's getting 2-3 targets in the passing game. I still think that this is going to be a closer game, but it's one where they're not going to be able to run the ball very well against the Saints. They'll be checking down, and Hill's going to get his. I mean, 8.5 receiving yards is nothing. It's an odd one, but I'll take it.
Some would say that's a diamond in the rough, Holden.
So is that good or bad?
That's good. I mean, you ever watch Aladdin? I mean, you got
a long time.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, end of the day, that's a good find because he could accidentally get over that. Like he could even be, if you go 4 quarters and he's in on third down passing downs if they're down late and he sneaks over it. I love those small numbers. You see me do it all the time. I give out those small number props over all the time. You
do. I don't even know how I found this thing. I think I was just up all night looking for props. The other one I have, and we'll get to the Chargers game, I got Kalen Ballage over 78.5 rushing plus receiving. But you got to tell me the truth about that one. Come on, JJ. That's not official.
I really like Ballage because he hasn't even been scripted. Like as far as game scripts go, he hasn't been scripted to have as many carries as he's had. So the Chargers have been down big in their last 2 games.
Yep.
He's still got 15 plus carries and a few extra work in the passing game. I would say that if this game doesn't script as well for them passing, I'd probably lean more towards him doing better on the rushing end versus the receiving end. Because I feel like he's had the perfect scripts for the receiving props the last few weeks. Today probably plays out different, but the rushing prop, I mean, you figure he's going to get his 18 to 20 carries. So what's he got to average? 3 yards a carry to get there? Because it's 53.5 I saw. So yeah.
Better not average 3 yards per carry. Yeah, I think he gets in the 70s today rushing. I think he catches enough balls, maybe 15 yards. That would put me under. No, put me over, I mean. So there we go. So Brian Hill's my official play today. You got the Eagles +3. I got Brian Hill over 8.5 receiving yards. Detroit and Carolina. So I don't want anything to do with this. Teddy Bridgewater's warming up right now. He doesn't have a brace, but he's moving really slow. This one is a pick 'em, and 47 is the total. I just a complete stay away spot for me, JJ. Any thoughts?
There are some crazy narratives for this game if Bridgewater is out. So PJ Walker, Temple quarterback, played underneath Matt Rule at Temple with Robbie Anderson at Temple. There's just a lot of continuity there. When you talk about a guy that's already got playing experience with their number one receiver as it is, playing under a coach who they both have experience playing underneath, you would think if PJ Walker plays, he would be looking to Robbie Anderson a lot today. But all bets are supposed to be analytical, right? They're not all supposed to be narratives. I try to give things when I see them, of course, but I think overall Detroit sucks. Like, how could you like them in any spot to win, especially on the road? And I know that this line moved up to 1.5, but now if Bridgewater plays, it makes it a lot hairier because how healthy truly is he? Overall, it's going to be a spot I avoid, but I'm interested to see this. If Walker does play, I'm interested to see how he plays under Rule and maybe feeds Robbie Anderson just like they did in Temple. They had quite the little career together.
Hey, let's run through a couple questions and then we'll get back to this. Eagles +3 -135 for Gerardo. I mean, I just got it at 117. So I don't, if you go to DraftKings, try it. If it's 135, is it worth betting?
Yeah. So typically I don't like to go up that high. Here's the thing. Like, I have the line off. Like, I have the line about 2 points off. So for me, there's value at 2.5. I was more than likely going to give it out at 2.5. I was just happy that last night it swung to 3 at a lot of places. It's not crazy to me that this morning before the show, it kind of slowly churned back. But do realize I also like 2.5. It'll suck if it lands 3. My bet pushes and everyone else's loses. But I do like it at 2.5. So you can do it. You can pay the extra vig for 3. I just like if you're at a book where 2.5 is -110 and 3 is -135. Don't pay 25 cents. Don't pay 25 cents for that half-point move. Just take it at 2.5. And like I said, do realize that I do like it at 2.5. I plan on giving it 2.5. It sucks that the consensus is kind of in the middle right now, but yeah, I'm still good at 2.5. I wouldn't buy it to 3 though.
You know what, Jay Rowe from you actually, I didn't even say this during the breakdown. Lattimore is out for the Saints. And I think that's huge. You know, they get Ridley back. The Falcons do. They got Julio. So good. Hi, Spread Astaire. How are you, buddy?
Red.
Who's Red?
No, I said spread.
Oh, spread. Yes.
You turned your hearing off for the S and the P. I mean,
I'm getting old, dude. I'm telling you, man. It's getting old sucks. That's about it. That's all we got questions wise. So hit some more. Oh, for DFS, FanDuel's glitch. Shocker. Worst place ever. Do you hate betting there too? I hate betting. I hate everything about FanDuel right now.
It's one of my least favorite books, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, you have to bet there because you're getting odds sometimes, but yeah, it's just horrible. This has got to be the 5th time this season already. We're only week 11 that they've had problems. That is so ridiculous. Plus, thank you for the $40 in my account last week for missing live betting. Keep your 40. I don't want $40. Okay, Jesus, ridiculous. New England at Houston, JJ. You can get this New England -2 or 2.5, depending on which book you want to go. And the total is at 49. So yeah, I figure that New England can actually get their offense going today, which and Houston too. I don't know if I like it getting a 49, but I do see some points today. Is New England good enough to be giving 2.5 on the road?
So yeah, from a picks perspective, very, very slightly in Houston, but not a love it there in any way. Getting points because I have this closer to a pick 'em than the 2 indicates. But from a points perspective, it does make sense. The only thing that worries me about this game is ball control for New England. This has the perfect script for New England to play extremely slow today. Limit possessions overall. They know that they're vulnerable in their secondary. And I know, again, I feel like I say this every week. Box number or surface numbers for New England. They look like they're good against the run, bad versus the pass. They're actually bad versus both and worse versus the pass. Okay. I think they're 31st or 32nd in the league. Yards per attempt, yards per completion. Okay. This teams just typically don't throw a lot against them. But here, what do we have? We have Flacco, who goes way over his passing prop 2 weeks ago. We have Lamar Jackson, who in a tropical storm goes over his passing prop last week. Okay. Now Deshaun Watson gets a number of, I think it's like 285 and a half. The only issue with Watson is he's so garbage time dependent, to go over numbers that if you're betting a Watson prop over passing, you're more or less hoping that New England scores because this team just does a lot of head scratching things when they have a lead. They're very content to run the ball with Duke Johnson into, who's one of the worst guys between the tackles in the league on 1st and 2nd down. And then Watson just stuck in 3rd and longs all game. But look, as far as what you said about teams moving the ball, New England should be able to move the ball running the football. Houston should not be able to stop that by any means. And I'm worried about New England just really churning out clock doing so. And on the Houston side, look, I know Gilmore, I think's back today. So that does kind of degrade, maybe Fuller a bit, maybe Cooks. I'm not sure which one he's going to end up covering. But, even when Gilmore was there, this team had bad numbers in their secondary. So I can't, Gilmore's going to help, but he's not an eraser for all those issues. So I still think Watson, that passing game gets going. It does make sense that New England's able to run. So I definitely would lean over with you, Holden. This would not be a spot I could bet under by any means.
Yeah, I see some points going on here. Not enough for me to bet it, but I do see some points going up here. Pittsburgh, Jacksonville. I mean, do we want to take the Steelers -10.5? Do we need to have the recency bias against the Cowboys, or did we realize that they're just too good to fall down that rabbit hole again? The total here is 46.5. So if you think that's going over, that's going to be Pittsburgh scoring what? 31 points in this game, which is entirely possible. But 10.5 with the Steelers. Am I just being a pussy by not going with it?
Yeah. No, you're not. Real quick, G-Sauce, I would go with the Chargers. It'd be nice for you to keep the Chiefs and the Ravens in your pocket, especially since a lot of Survivor leagues, there's still a lot of teams left in Survivor. So, if you're able to keep the Chiefs and Ravens still in your pocket for the next few weeks, it's going to give you an advantage over the field. I would take the Chargers. Win or lose, you'd want to keep those teams in your pocket. This is not a good time to pick either of them. So for this game here, and look, this for me is a complete motivational handicap for me. And I know that I typically like to stay true to the numbers. I don't like to deviate too far from it. The numbers will tell you there's value on Pittsburgh here. The issue is from a motivational standpoint, okay? This team is undefeated. This team is on the road. This team has 4 days from a Thanksgiving game with the Ravens, okay? From a motivational perspective, where is Pittsburgh's motivation to just roll Jacksonville today? Okay. And here's my other big concern. Pittsburgh, I feel like we say this every week. Pittsburgh is so good at creating negative plays for other teams' offenses, but they also give up a lot of big plays. What have we seen from Jacksonville the last few weeks? They've been able to put together a few big plays in back-to-back weeks with Lutton as their quarterback. I can't expect that changes today. It does make sense that Pittsburgh gives up a few big plays. I know that pass rush is probably going to tilt this kid, but I also know what I see every week from Pittsburgh, that they give up big plays. Jacksonville's been getting them. Wouldn't surprise me at all for Jacksonville to hit 40, 50-yard play in one way or another, especially for a touchdown. This is a big number here. I know Jacksonville looked really good against Green Bay last week. I don't know if you're going to see that same level of efficiency, but Pittsburgh here, this is just a spot I want to lay off. It's not going to be a spot I bet at any means, again, because I have in one side of it, the numbers really tell you there's about a few points edge in Pittsburgh's favor, but there's so many narratives that go against Pittsburgh in this specific spot that I just want no part of it. Total's a little ugly too. Just going to be a game I completely avoid. But do realize if you bet Pittsburgh, expect to tilt yourself a bit. And if you bet Jacksonville and Jacksonville acts like Jacksonville, good luck tilting that as well. So it's going to be a spot I overall avoid.
I don't blame you. Jason, I'm not on a team as much as I am Brian Hill over 8.5 receiving yards for the Falcons. I like the Falcons today, but I got it at +5. I don't like it at 2.5. Is that what we're down to too? Just a ton of money coming in. Are we down to 2.5 since the show started? No, we're still at 3.5. Really, when you think about it, there's not much difference between 3.5 and 5, is there?
No, even 4 is considered like a minor key number.
Yeah.
So no, not a big difference.
I felt better at 5. So I'll go Brian Hill, 8.5 receiving yards, and JJ's got Philly -3 and feels comfortable at 2.5. If you're just joining us, +3. Sorry, my bad. At +2.5 is you can go down to +2.5 on Philly, right?
Certainly.
Okay. Green Bay, Indianapolis, my favorite game of the day. We have the Colts. Man, they're 1.5 point favorites here. And the total is 51.5. Like, how do we get to 51.5 in this game? These are two decent defensive teams. Actually, I think they're good. Indianapolis is a terrific defensive team, and Green Bay is coming along, and they got both their starting corners this week. Last week, the week before, they had injuries. Now they got Jair Alexander, and they got King back there. I think that's going to be a big factor in this game, JJ, with the cornerbacks being back. And I think it's the first time since week 3 or 4 that they've had these two guys. I actually lean Packers here. I think they can go on the road and win this thing straight up.
Yeah, this is probably going to be your classic, I guess we can call it pros versus Joes spot. I think a lot of your sharper syndicate money is going to be on the Colts. I think a lot of your public money overall is going to be on the Packers. But with that said, I still think some sharper money could come in on the Packers here regardless. So here's the thing. Green Bay, where is their big win this year? Okay. Maybe their best win was at the Saints, maybe. And I know that sounds like, it's at the Saints. Of course, that's a big win. But that was the first week they didn't have Michael Thomas. So a lot of people really downgraded the Saints coming into that week. If you go down their schedule, Holden, every team they've played a degraded version of every team they've played. So when you look at strength of schedule, maybe the Packers don't have the easiest strength of schedule. But if you talk about the situations that they were in when they played these teams, so they played the Vikings week 1, who were missing their entire defense. Okay, remember the Vikings week 1 and 2? How many they just gave up points to everybody? Okay, so that's not the Vikings team that they are today. So they just roll the Vikings in terms of how well they scored. Then they play the Lions, which we know the Lions are the Lions. At the Saints with no Michael Thomas for the first time. Home against the Falcons. By the way, when the Falcons had no one in their secondary and they were getting blown out every week to start the year. Remember, the Falcons started out 0-4. They get rolled by the Bucs. They beat the Texans, who we know are, we at least agree that I can't say they're overrated, but I just think that people think they're better than they are, even though they have the bad record. But they're just awful with their secondary. Then they lose to the Vikings. Then they play the 49ers. Remember the 49ers in that Thursday night game with all the COVID news? The 49ers had nobody in that game. and then they barely beat the Jaguars. So, like, my thing is, look, I think the Colts are overrated for sure, but, like, the Packers are really overrated. So, for me, you get two overrated teams. It's going to be a spot I want to avoid entirely. Now, you're right. From a defensive perspective, the Packers probably play a little better this week than we've seen with those corners back. And, look, Phillip Rivers probably going to make a few mistakes. But overall, and look, Leonard for the Colts, clearly big difference maker on that defense. Going to be a spot I don't want any part of. It'll probably be the most fun game to watch, you'd figure. As for the total being high, look, you get two offenses that are fairly efficient, so they're going to have to put that total up there to scare off overbettors. But you're right, there could be some value on the under. If you're betting this game over, you like the Packers. And, like, I know that you already said you like the Packers, but, like,
I got an Amber Alert.
yeah, we're aware. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, no. You know what we got? We got severe risk from deadly COVID. No shit, Colorado.
That was really where it went off from?
Huh?
That was really what it went off from?
Yeah, I thought it was like some Amber Alert, but the whole building just went like, I know there's COVID. I just canceled my vacation, you jackass. All right, please go on. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. So I think if you're gonna bet the Packers, I would say bet the over. And if you're gonna bet the Colts, I would say bet the under. Because the Colts want to win a low scoring game. The Packers are going to want to shoot out with the Colts because they know if it is a shootout, it's advantage Packers. And if it's low scoring game, it's advantage Colts. So as far as picking sides, I know it's going to be a fun game to watch. Probably a lot of people want to bet it. But, look, just a tough game overall to handicap. And if you're talking where there's value, there's probably value on the Packers just because from where this line opened to where it is currently, this will also be a very popular teaser spot for the Packers. To me, a team that I know is overrated, I don't want any part of anything close to a teaser with any team that I think is overrated. So I'm just going to avoid the game entirely. But look, it could be a good game, should be a good game. Just want no part of it.
Spread, you and me are Joe Public. We're the suckers today on the Packers. I actually didn't even bet on him. I just leaned toward him. I really I just love what Rodgers is doing this year. He is so efficient. And now they get both their corners back. I mean, Phillip Rivers proved he's not washed, though, right? That's good. Last week, he had 1 week where he said, I'm not going to be washed anymore. We'll see what happens this week. Cincinnati, Washington. Washington, 1.5 to 2 point favorite, depending on where you want to go. If you bet Cincinnati, obviously, you want the 2. If you bet Washington, the 1.5. The total is 47.5. JJ, I'm a little conflicted about this game. If Cincinnati's passing attack, Joe Burrow, he's going to be under some pressure today. But, boy, he's really got a nice rapport with T. Higgins. He's got Boyd. Gio Bernard has been fine, since everything went down. And on the Washington side, Alex Smith, somehow, some way, is getting the job done with Gibson and McKissick. And then, Terry McLaurin to me is going to have a monster day. That I love some Terry McLaurin. But ultimately, I'm staying away from this game, both sides. Do you have a lean or a thought?
Yeah, so I think that Alex Smith has been smoke and mirrors. And look, I love the story, okay? Him coming back and playing has been great. But here's what I know. I know that for 3 quarters, he's basically been doing nothing for the past 2 weeks. He's gone down huge in the fourth quarter. And he's led a few comebacks against prevent defenses with a lot of dump offs. So, a lot of stuff, yards after catch has been a big thing for him with his running backs and short routes with receivers. Obviously, McLaurin's good, but outside of him, it's been a lot of just other nonsense for how they're moving the ball on offense. And it's all been done late. I think if you're going to target this game, and I don't love it just because they're 2 bad teams, I think you'd want to target the Bengals first half. I say that because we've been getting a competent offense in the Bengals most weeks. Now, granted, they struggle at times with really good defenses like Pittsburgh last week. And Washington probably creates a little bit of pressure for Burrow. But I've been watching these Washington games, and Alex Smith doesn't move the ball for the first 3 quarters. Now, he gets a softer defense here, so maybe that kind of changes it a bit. But at a pick'em, I would lean the Bengals first half. But again, ugly game overall, not one I'm going to want much part of. But if I was going to target it, that would be the target.
All right, very good. Let's move on. Our next game, we're going so fast today. Maybe we can get the night game tonight too. And Dallas, Minnesota. It is a 7.5-point spread. Excuse me, Minnesota the favorite here at home against Dallas with Andy Dalton coming back at 49.5 is the over. I actually thought they looked better with Gilbert than at any point in time with our boy Andy Dalton. But I hate that hook, JJ. That bothers me. I don't like the hook at all.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting spot, right? So you get Dalton back. And Dalton wasn't as bad as I think he was perceived to have been. I thought Zeke put him in a big hole against Arizona, fumbling twice. They became very one-dimensional, which allowed Arizona to just kind of let the pass rushers get loose. And then there was a few bad calls against them. Like, look, I get it. You can't handicap games based on a per-play basis, but I feel like Dalton's better than the perception was of him. I think that's why this line is a little short. Because people might be looking at like, oh, Minnesota's only 7.5. Dalton sucks. But, like, he's not as bad as those numbers look, especially if you watch the game. But with that said, look, I'm a closeted Minnesota fan. So Minnesota here, these are just typical lay down spots for this team. Okay. This is a team that got a good motivational win against Chicago in primetime. But here's the other argument, and this goes back to a timing thing. Okay. Dallas is off a bye here, and Minnesota's off 6 days off their Monday night game. So you're getting like that colliding worlds of preparation where Minnesota's got a day less, Dallas has 7 days extra. So you would figure Dallas will be more prepared. But, with that said, I don't trust Minnesota to win this game by more than a touchdown, which is why I want to stay away. Now, this could be a spot maybe you tease. But again, I just know Minnesota overall is a team that just lays down in this spot. So it's not something I love in any way. Minnesota's been rolling. You could argue maybe some value on the 7.5 overall, especially if Andy Dalton's going to turn the ball over a bit. But yeah, I mean, and how could you want, if you're on the Dallas side, how could you trust Dalton? Like, how could you want to trust Dalton's not going to turn the ball over late or cause something? I said the numbers look better, but with those numbers looking better, I think that's why this line is shortened. So it's not like because Dalton looks better, that's making there be a favorable in the line. Like if this line was 10, I'd be like, oh yeah, it makes sense to back the Cowboys here because Dalton's been better than how he looks. 7.5 indicates the market's sharper than that, and that the line's moved properly and does upgrade a bit for Dalton. So overall, going to be a spot I avoid. But I'm interested to see if this is maybe a spot where they kind of get Zeke going. This is a dude they paid a lot of money to, and who's done absolutely nothing so far. But overall, and mini first half's not a bad look. But Benjamin, I'll tell you, it's not going to surprise me at all if Minnesota comes out flat here in a game that they probably just think they win regardless. So either way, going to be a spot I avoid.
They better not think that way because they're not that good. Minnesota. So are you with me? Like the hook bothers you? If this was 6.5 or even 7, would you bet it or not?
I definitely lean Minnesota. I just, like I said, I've been burned by these games with the Vikings for years. So this is not a spot I want to target. But overall, yeah, it does make sense. And look, Minnesota's got to win. That's the other thing. If they're not like Pittsburgh or Baltimore, they have to win because ultimately they're trying to chase Green Bay. So yeah, motivational standpoint, you'd think they'd be there, but I've been on this train too long to know that this is a typical laydown spot for them.
Hey guys, get your questions out there, and we'll definitely get as many as we can before we get out. Adam wants to know: do you like Kamara rushing and receiving yards? 60.5 rushing, 42.5. One of them has to hit.
I think overall it's tough, right? Because you don't know how much Taysom's gonna check down, right?
Let me say this. Last week, but that was more Winston checking down. You're right. You just don't know, right? You're right.
I mean, Taysom Hill might unleash the third leg. He might be whipping that thing downfield.
I don't know. I don't know about no Taysom Hill, man. But as far as those two props goes, I mean, if there was one that I think would hit, it would be Kamara. But because Atlanta really is a pass funnel, and this guy is such a big part. Like Jameis yesterday used two guys, or last week it was Kamara and Thomas. I don't know who Hill's going to use this week, but those are the two guys in the passing game that I love. If I'm going to have to pick two of them, how is everyone not betting New England? Gregory Russo wants to know. Oh, Laramie Tunsil's out of that game too, so that's important.
Gregory's my guy, and I get it from a coaching narrative. It makes a lot of sense, right? You get Cronell against Belichick. I just feel like New England. And look, I'm a New England homer. I bet them probably more than anybody. But the problem is that there are so many holes in that secondary for New England, and the only thing Houston does well is pass the football. So, from a scoring perspective, Houston should be able to move the ball. And I worry if somehow, some way, Houston gets ahead, New England's now got to play from behind. It's just not a spot I want to avoid. A spot I want to avoid overall. Definitely makes sense that from the coaching narrative, New England probably wins this game, but too many analytical holes in this New England team this year for me to love this spot for them on the road.
Jimmy Stain, I don't know where he came out with this Eagles plus 2.5, but it just sounds like a brilliant bet. Absolutely.
Sounds like a good one, Jimmy.
Sounds like a good one. And no doubt about it. Maxwell Smart, I have never made out with a hot broad who has a beard. What's the official stance of Bush on this show? Because I have done that plenty of times back in the 90s. It was awful.
I mean, I'm neutral to the Bush.
Neutral?
Yeah. Indifferent, if you will.
How can you be indifferent? It does not make sense. You either like it clean or you like it running down the legs. Which one is it?
Or, like, for instance, I'm indifferent to bacon, right? And a lot of people are like, how could you be indifferent to bacon? To me, it's bland to me. It's, it's not worth the calories.
But the hair, this throat thing and, all the stuff.
You just said you were for it.
Right. In the 90s.
So
it was acceptable.
So pending the decade, you're into Bush?
Yeah, because now I go back in time and I'm going, what was I doing? It didn't matter. I was like 19 and I'd hit anything anyways. No, I was pretty selective, but every girl had it. The whole thing was down the legs. That's where I started saying, come on, this is a little too much. Falcons team total 23, JJ. From Viper.
I would lean over, but very slightly.
Jordan saying Browns minus 6.5 easy LOL. Yes, that is something to laugh at, is what I would say. Jimmy Stain. I mean, classic trap game for for who? For the Browns. The Browns.
the Browns have been in trap games for the last 2 days.
Okay. That's awful. They're just that's not good. Here's one in my hometown. Miami at Denver. Dolphins laying 4 on the road. What is going on here? This is supposed to be a team that was in the mix for the number 1 pick. Now they're -4. The total is 45.5. Man, let me just say this from the Denver side. Drew Lock has been an absolute train wreck. This guy is a bad quarterback who makes horrible decisions. He had a quote this week. He said 50% of the time, I don't know where the ball is going. It comes out of my hand. What? What are you talking about, man? You're a quarterback. You can't do it 50% of 1% of the time. Fine. But this Miami defense is now big plays. They're scoring all the time, JJ. So I tell you, 4 is a little bit too much, but that Miami defense, if you want to, the money line's just not worth it either. But boy, this could be a disaster for Drew Lock.
So here's my issue. If you are somebody who has been betting Miami for the last 3 weeks, you can continue to ride the train without issue. Okay. If you are somebody who is jumping on the train today, you are late to the party. Okay. If this game is played 4 weeks ago, this line is probably Denver -2, Denver -2.5. Okay. And then here's the thing from a yards per play perspective. Okay. Since Tua has taken over Miami, I believe they're like ranked 23rd in the NFL in yards per play on offense. This team is borderline smoke and mirrors. And here's the big issue for me. They have borderline, and I'm going to say borderline for a reason, 5 defensive/special teams touchdowns in the last 3 weeks. Okay. It's actually 4. The borderline one was because they had a strip fumble and got taken down at the 1 yard line where they ran it in for 1 yard touchdown run. So borderline 5 special teams/defensive touchdowns. Can this sustain itself? Maybe
this week.
I mean, there's just this aspect of lucky to this Miami team. And this is why I don't want to bet them in this spot. Now I get it. It's tough to bet Denver. Okay. But if you're talking from a buy high, buy low, sell high market, this is your prototypical. You are more or less selling super low on Denver, buying super high on Miami. Not a spot I want to be part of from a number standpoint. This is a bad bet if you're betting Miami, but I get it. It's tough to back Denver. Going to be a spot I overall avoid because even I, who loves to stay true to the numbers. I can't even bet this Denver team. So with that said, I don't know who is, which I guess makes you even more a little weary. But overall, not a spot I want any part of. Jimmy,
Gregory, play nice, guys. Come on, don't be mean to each other. Be nice. We don't need any brawling. I'm trying to get the questions here. I can't even see them because you guys are being mean. By the way, your dad's a baby boomer, right?
64.
My dad's a baby boomer. Be nice to those old people. You know, they don't know what they're doing anymore. Time's passed. You know, it's not their fault. They're lazy and couldn't be as good as their parents.
Yeah, it's not their fault. They used to appreciate a good bush.
Oh God, they did invent porn. There's no doubt about that. So those sick people. Actually, I don't think they invented it. They just made it bigger. Jets at the Chargers. 9.5 is what we're looking at here. Chargers minus 9.5. I given what they do, I don't know how you lay 9.5 with this team. 47.5 is the total. I mean, I like the Chargers today, but how do you lay 9.5 with them?
Here's an angle I think for this game. I think that you either alternate spread this or you bet the Jets money line. I think that if this is a close game late, I don't trust Anthony Lynn to win it. This team just continues to lose close games late. And I know it's the Jets, right? Or you bet like Chargers minus 3 touchdowns. Because if the Chargers play the way they should play, they should literally roll the Jets today. Like they should win by more than 3 touchdowns today. But if Anthony Lynn gets cute with the play calling when they have a lead, and he kind of like puts handcuffs on Herbert, they could allow the Jets to hang in it and win. There's also the other argument here that if you remember that New England game, Holden, didn't it just seem like Flacco got the signal to like give up the game? I mean, late in that game, what is he doing throwing a 60-yard pass when you're trying to run the clock? He throws a ball purposely into double coverage that was like, there's just no way a team that's trying to win a football game makes that throw.
No, he's not throwing games. He's not giving up. This guy's career is at an end. You think he wants to throw 60-yard bombs into double coverage?
And I want to be clear. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but when you're talking how that game plays out in that spot, you're just trying to get a first down and move the football. What's he doing throwing a ball 60 yards downfield into double coverage? For what? I'm just saying, I think it's possible he got the signal. Hey, look, don't throw the game, Flacco, but maybe throw an egregious ball up for grabs. And we'll see what happens. Okay. But anyway, I don't know if they're trying to win games, but with that said, I think you alternate spread this because either the Chargers come out and play much better than they've looked the last few weeks and roll the Jets, or this game's a close game late and you'll be live with the Jets money line.
Yeah, I know we had a question. I got Gregory and Jimmy just fighting each other. I can't even find it. Here we go. Score Socrathar. Chargers to win both halves plus 110. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me either. It's just they're a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a crazy bet, but yeah, I don't know.
It's not a great one. It's not a great bet. You want to give your prize picks out, buddy? Because I don't
think we talked Baltimore.
We didn't? We didn't talk Baltimore? Well, that's my bad. Where did I miss that? You're right. Tennessee, Baltimore, 1:00 game. Totals 50.5. Baltimore minus 6 at home. I don't know what's going on with Tennessee here, man. Their defense is an absolute train wreck, but Baltimore's offense is bottom 5 in just about every single passing category. They're just awful. They're just absolutely terrible offensively. Does it change this week against this Tennessee team?
Yes, I actually do think it does. So for me, the 6 is a big number. This could be a game you tease down if you'd like. But my issue here, so Tennessee, and I know this, I feel like almost like a broken record with all these things week after week, but these things aren't changing. Tennessee, third down defense, is not only the worst team in the NFL, okay? This is an historically bad, like you're going back like 25 years to find a team as bad on third down defense as the Tennessee Titans are this year, okay? So what does that mean? That means Lamar Jackson, if he happens to get stuck in third and longs, he's playing the best defense he could be playing in the last 25 years of football. As far as his ability to convert long third downs. So if you assume that the Ravens running offense gets him even 2 to 3 yards a carry and he's stuck in 3rd and 5s all game long, What better team to be stuck in 3rd and 5s against than this team? Okay, that just consistently gives them up. Overall, definitely lean the Ravens. Now, the Ravens have a similar look past spot with Pittsburgh looming. But the Ravens, after such a bad loss, they don't have any right to be looking past any team anymore. So they have to win this game. Tennessee could win. I know I've mentioned a few teams that are overrated. It's just the facts are what they are. Tennessee is an overrated team, specifically on the defensive end. And I'm starting to worry that Derrick Henry is slowly getting more and more fatigued. You're seeing it like they're giving him less and less carries. His offensive snap share is slowly going down every week. They like this kid, McNichols from Boise, that they've been running in a bunch of plays recently. And look, Tannehill clearly is not as good when the run game's not working. You're seeing his numbers start to go down. Overall, I just think Tennessee is super overrated. And I think it's giving you this opportunity to get a decent number on Baltimore, especially if you tease it down. And again, if you're worried about, but Lamar Jackson can't throw. I mean, what better scenario than a team that just consistently gives up 3rd and longs to a guy who can't convert 3rd and longs? So to me, it's a perfect recipe for Lamar to have success. Overall, I would lean the Ravens at the 6.
Prize picks, my friend. What do we got this week? Yeah,
so prize picks, guys. 2, and I'm going to be interested in your thoughts on these. It's actually 2 receiver props, Holden. So your boy Terry McLaurin, I feel like has a soft number. So it's 18.5, which you might think that's high. But first of all, I feel like there's a decent chance he gets in the box today. I don't know what his odds are to score, but there's a decent chance he scores today. Probably better than what the market is currently evaluating it at. There's also the idea that this dude just gets peppered with targets and now is facing a defense that's just notorious for giving up big plays to good, talented receivers. Overall, 18.5 for a guy that's going to be heavily targeted by his boy Alex Smith. I like this spot for McLaurin. Another spot here, Jacoby Myers, 14.5. This dude has come on the scene from out of nowhere. And Cam Newton loves to target this kid. And Houston's soft secondary. And again, I think Houston's going to score here, which is going to put extra pressure on New England to have to move the ball on offense. This kid Myers sees a ton of looks. And again, if he happens to land in the end zone, this is almost a lock for him to go over this number. So overall, I like these 2 receiver props over their numbers. So again, that's Terry McLaurin, 18, and Jacoby Myers, 14.5. I really like those 2. Again, head over to Prize Picks.
Total fish plays.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Absolutely, seriously, I love both of them. McLaurin's one of my top 5 wide receivers this week. And Jacoby Myers is getting peppered with targets. So I do love both of them. Seriously.
Yes. PrizePicks.com, promo code PURE, P-U-R-E, 100% deposit bonus match up to $100. Reggie, I didn't give a teaser this week. I don't force teasers. I kind of say, try to let teasers come to you. You don't kind of go out and find them. I didn't love anything in the teaser department this week, so I'm going to avoid. But again, I gave out Eagles +3. I like that even to 2.5 as it's kind of starting to move a bit again. But overall, Holden's best bet, Brian Hill over 8.5 receiving. I like the Eagles +3. I actually think they win outright. But either way, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. I wish you all the best of luck with all your bets today and even Monday, Tuesday. We'll be back with our live show for our members today. We'll be sweating out action and giving out some live plays as well. Holden, where can they catch you at?
America, United States. I'm in Denver. At Holden Radio. What a dick move that was.
United States of America, you can find me.
At Holden, I'll be hopping on with JSU here in 7 minutes to do our which, hey, would you touch either Lions running back this week in DFS?
If I would, it would be carry on, though. You can't touch Peterson.
There's so many people that are touting Peterson, and I'm going, what are you doing?
How?
He's so washed.
Dude,
he's 4,000. It's like, no, stop it. You're already playing Taysom Hill. Don't play Adrian Peterson. Just don't do it.
It has to be this week more than ever, and you'll discuss this, I'm sure, with JSU. But if you're going that cheap everywhere, where are you paying up? Like, there's not like these like massive. Well,
you're getting Cook and Adams. If you're going that low, you're getting Cook and Adams. And Devontae, I know he's got his ankle. You can't find me between the bush anymore. I quit on anyway. Can I just get out of here? These guys, it's a shit show. I love you all though,
guys, and I do as well. Guys, gamble responsibly, stay safe, and we'll catch you next Sunday.